All right, let's get into this UK thing.
Prime Minister Keir Starmer has just announced that the UK will recognize a Palestinian state in September unless Israel agrees to a ceasefire in Gaza and take steps forward to long-term peace. And we did want to play out at least some comments from UK Prime Minister Starmer right now.
Thank you. I'll take some questions. John.
Prime Minister, two issues here, obviously the aid and also the recognition of Palestine. First of all, on aid, what assurances did you receive from President Trump that he will use his influence with Prime Minister Netanyahu to allow the aid that you've talked about, the aid going in by trucks as well as by air? What assurance did you receive from him? He sounded as though when he talked about every ounce of food going in and you can't fake.
I might not be able to cover all of it then, chat, because we got obviously we got after hours.
The pictures that we've seen on TV. Tell me about the reassurances you've heard, the promises, pledges from President Trump. And on the recognition issue, you do appear to have moved your position from as recently as last week, really, where you were talking about various other measures. I'm wondering what has influenced you into making what looks like a U-turn here on this issue? Is it pressure from the 250 or so MPs, most of whom are Labour? Is it pressure from inside your cabinet? We hear there are 7 cabinet ministers pressing you to push for recognising Palestine. Or is it President Macron, who of course lobbied you? He talked about last Thursday about recognising the Palestine also at the UN General Assembly. And what difference do you think actually recognising Palestine will actually make in practical terms?
Thank you for those questions. Firstly, on the question of aid, I won't go into the discussions I had with President Trump yesterday. We had a long session in private. And we discussed the situation in Gaza, and you heard the way the President then put it in the press conference that we held afterwards. And I think you could see for yourself his concern about the humanitarian situation in Gaza, as is my concern, because we've been saying for some considerable time now we need to get more aid in at volume and at speed, and the situation now is absolutely catastrophic, which is why I've taken this decision today. In relation to the two-state
sorry, guys.
Solution and the recognition of Palestine. This has been long-standing Labour Party policy. It was in our manifesto. We talked about the right.
What I said was, guys, was that even Trump knows that it's a starvation campaign. Even Trump knows that. I showed you guys this clip yesterday where he said on Air Force One, you know, the kids are starving over there. This is contrary to what dumbass Netanyahu, right, try to say, oh no, we're not starving them. And then Charlie Kirk doubled down, right? And Charlie Kirk, hold on one second. So yeah. So despite the fact that the Israeli government, Netanyahu, and all these mouthpieces are lying, saying like, oh, there's no systemic starvation, Donald Trump came out and said on Air Force One there's starvation. And on top of that, obviously the UK, the two biggest allies for Israel, by the way, are coming out saying the starvation is going on. And Charlie Kirk tried to fucking double down and with a dumbass rabbi saying, oh, the starvation is a lie. Bro, even Trump admits that they're fucking starving them. So, dude, it's a fucking lie. And then Charlie Kirk made himself look like a complete dummy because 2 days ago he went out with a rabbi and said, oh, there's no starvation in Gaza. Then yesterday, Trump comes out and says there is starvation in Gaza. So Charlie Kirk looks like a fucking dumbass right now.
Of the Palestinians to recognition, and we've always said that would be part of the process, and that it would be an important part of the point that we thought it would have maximum impact. It's driven today by two things. Firstly, the context in the intolerable situation in Gaza, which is getting worse.
Yeah, bringing in a rabbi to say that there's no starvation in Gaza is like having Ted Bundy interview a fucking female saying that serial killing isn't that bad. Fucking
redacted.
By the day, but also because of the concern that the very possibility of a two-state solution is reducing, and therefore it is very important to be seen in that context.
This Crown Prince says, are you concerned what's going on in Sudan? Bro, I've talked about Sudan a bunch of times, bro. Shut the fuck up. Holy shit, some of you niggas are
redacted.
As a very important contribution to what I hope will be an alleviation of the situation on the ground, because
some of the people in YouTube chat are literally fucking and clearly don't watch my content, bro. You niggas are stupid.
Acutely aware that what needs to happen urgently is that aid into Gaza at speed and at volume, and that ceasefire that can open the way for a political process. So this is a decision taken by this government in the context of today, and after a meeting with my cabinet just earlier this afternoon. On the question of the difference it will make, the reason we have announced this in the way we have in relation to the General Assembly in September is precisely because I want to ensure that this plays a part in changing the conditions on the ground. And making sure that that aid gets in, making sure that there is hope of a two-state solution for the future. And therefore, I've always been interested in what is going to make a material difference, how can we work with our allies most effectively, and that's why this comes as a part of a peace plan that we've been working on for some considerable time, an 8-part plan, which I've already spoken to Germany and France about, and many other countries. So this should be in the context of answering the question, yes, how do you get humanitarian aid in at speed and at volume, but also what happens the day after a much-needed ceasefire so that we can get to a long-term peaceful outcome. And I think that that is the context in which you should see the decision that I've made today. Can I go to David, PA, please? David.
Yeah, thanks very much, Prime Minister. David Lynch from PA. In your statement just now, you've said that the UK will recognise the state of Palestine unless Israel takes steps to end the situation in Gaza and reach a ceasefire. That sounds like our recognition of Palestine is conditional. But why is that? And how confident
Good question. Let's see how he answers this.
are you that a ceasefire can be reached by September?
Well, the primary aim here is to change the situation on the ground for people who desperately need change. We need a ceasefire. We need always to keep in our mind the hostages and the atrocity of October the 7th. And they must be immediately released. They've been held a very, very long time. But also we need, alongside that, to ensure that we get aid in at volume and in speed into Gaza, because the situation is simply intolerable. And this is intended to further that cause. And it is done now because I am particularly concerned that the very idea of a two-state solution is reducing and feels further away today than it has for many, many years, and therefore it should be seen in both of those contexts. Thank you both very much indeed.
All right, so that was UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer. As we are following breaking news, a live look right here at the border between Gaza and Israel. This as Prime Minister Keir Starmer has just announced that the UK will recognize a Palestinian state in September unless Israel agrees to a ceasefire in Gaza and also takes steps toward long-term peace. Prime Minister Starmer called ministers together for a cabinet meeting to discuss the situation in Gaza. That meeting, very rare in the summertime. He did tell them that Britain will recognize a state of Palestine before the United Nations General Assembly, quote, unless the Israeli government takes substantive steps to end the appalling situation in Gaza, reaches a ceasefire, makes clear there will be no annexation in the West Bank, and commits to a long-term peace process that delivers a two-state solution. Britain has supported the idea of an independent Palestinian state existing alongside Israel, but has said recognition should come as part of a negotiated two-state solution to the conflict. This also comes as Starmer met with President Trump there in the UK, both discussing the ongoing conflict in Gaza and both supporting more aid to those who are impacted by hunger there in Gaza. So we did want to share that breaking news with you as you are taking a live look right there at the border between Israel and Gaza.
All right, so
last week
let's break this down real quick. So as you guys know, right, to make this all make sense, this comes on the heels of President Macron of France basically saying that he is going to recognize a Palestinian state in September. And basically the Brits have taken a page out of France's book, and they're saying now they're going to recognize Palestine in September if Israel doesn't, come to terms with something that they want, making substantial change in the way they're approaching this conflict, right? Now, this kind of goes to show how much power Israel has and how, honestly, everyone is powerless to stop them. Okay? Because when France declared that they were going to recognize a Palestinian state, a bunch of Israeli government officials took to Twitter to condemn France, right? They said things along the lines of, you're endangering the life of Israelis, you're supporting terrorism, you're rewarding terrorism by doing this, blah, 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 right? And the UK, obviously, we know that let's be honest here, the UK are right? And the UK also has a very large Muslim population. And the UK knows that they support Israel financially and diplomatically, but they also see that what Israel is doing is starting to become indefensible. Even people like Piers Morgan, who are hardcore Zionists, are starting to come out and say, yo, enough is enough. Like, what the fuck is going on here? Remember Piers Morgan? Literally, like, over the past 2 years, what has he been saying? Do you condemn Hamas? Do you condemn Hamas? Israel has a right to defend itself. Do you condemn Hamas? Literally, that was like his fucking go-to line, right? But now, you see, he's not asking that fucking dumbass question no more. And he's even come out himself, which I will give him credit for, saying he's changed his mind, saying that he can no longer defend the state of Israel. So why do I tell you guys this? I tell you guys this because the entire international community is starting to crack down on what the fuck Israel's doing, and they can't defend it anymore. When you got the President of the United States making conflicting statements to what the Israeli government is saying when it comes to starvation, when you got the President of France saying, you know what, we're going to recognize a Palestinian state, despite the fact that the Israelis try to claim that that's rewarding terrorism. And now you got the UK, who is a close ally of Israel. The United States and the UK are the closest allies to Israel, by the way, chat. Okay? The UK is pretty much in lockstep with us. Everything we do, they follow. This is why I don't blame British citizens when they actually are interested in American politics. Because the UK understands that if we go to war or if we do some type of military action or whatever, they're probably going to follow. I'll give you guys an example of this. Back in 2003 with the Iraq War, Tony Blair, the Prime Minister of Israel back then, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom back then, sent a considerable amount of soldiers to the Iraq War. A lot of them died. So back in 2003, Tony Blair sent a bunch of soldiers over, and they died. And it was actually very unpopular with the British people because it was a pointless war. So the point I'm trying to make is this. It's taking significant political pressure to get Israel to stop doing what they're doing. Okay? So the UK is basically run out of options. Don't think that Keir Starmer wants to recognize a Palestinian state for humanitarian purposes. No, that's not the reason why he's doing it. Okay? The reason why he's doing it is because he's tired of Israel conducting a genocide while the United Kingdom is an ally of them. Do you understand, guys? I'm going to make this very fucking clear. He doesn't care about recognizing a Palestinian state. What he cares about is that Israel is conducting a genocide while the UK are allies with them. That's why he's doing this. That is why he's making this recognition of Palestine contingent upon Israel pulling back on their military campaign. Right? So that's why he's doing this. So basically he's dangling the carrot like, look, I know you guys don't want us to recognize the Palestinian state, but if you guys continue this campaign, we are. And just so you guys know, your boy Benjamin Netanyahu, who's been in power for the better part of the last 30 years, right? He has campaigned and worked and done everything in his power to sabotage the two-state solution. Okay? Done everything in his power. And instead of me just yapping about it, let me go ahead and give you guys proof. So here he is in the West Bank being filmed during a private conversation. Okay, I know a lot of you guys are probably listening in, so I'll read it for you guys. He's speaking in Hebrew. All right, so Netanyahu, what are the Oslo Accords? The Oslo Accords, which the Knesset signed, I asked before the elections, will you act according to them? And I answered yes, subject to mutuality and limiting the retreats. Now, real quick, for those of you that don't know, let me go ahead and pull this up real fast. I've done it before, but I know we got a lot of new viewers in here. So the Oslo Accords, guys, okay, in my opinion, were probably the closest we were ever going to get to a two-state solution. Okay, here you can see the famous photo of Bill Clinton bringing together Yasser Arafat, representing the PLO, and then Yitzhak Rabin, who was the prime minister of Israel back then. He ended up getting assassinated after this agreement, by the way, by a far-right member of the Likud party. Who runs the Likud party? Benjamin Netanyahu. So many speculate that Benjamin Netanyahu had Yitzhak Rabin assassinated because of these accords. And these were signed in 1993. But when Yitzhak Rabin died, pretty much got cooked. Okay, but do you intend to limit the retreats? I'll give such interpretations of the accords that will make it possible for me to stop this galloping to the 67 armistice lines. How did we do it? Narrator, the Oslo Accords stated at the time that Israel would gradually hand over territories to the Palestinians at three different pulses unless the territories in question had settlements or military sites. This is where Netanyahu found a loophole. Boom, there you go.
אוסלו קבע בשעתו כי ישראל תמסור בהדרגה שטחים לפלסטינים בשלוש פעימות שונות, אלא אם בשטחים האמורים יימצאו התנחלויות או אתרים צבאיים. כאן מזהה ביבי פרצה.
Netanyahu, no one said what defined military sites. Defined military sites, I said, were security zones. As far as I'm concerned, the Jordan Valley is a defined military site. Some in the chat said that this is an old clip. Yeah, stupid. I know it's an old fucking clip. The purpose of why I'm showing this clip is to demonstrate to you guys that he's been trying to sabotage the two-state solution for decades. That's why I'm showing this. God damn. Yo, niggas in YouTube chat are bro. What the fuck is wrong with y'all? Holy fuck. Nigga says in the chat, this is an old clip. Ryan Tomasiak. Yeah, I know. It's an old clip. It adds fuel to the fire of what I'm trying to demonstrate to you here, that he's been trying to do this shit for decades.
Redacted.
God damn, niggas are dumb. All right, Netanyahu says, how can you tell? How can you tell? But then the question came up of just who would define the defined military sites were. I stopped the government meeting. I said, I'm not signing only when the letter came in the course of the meeting to me and to Arafat, only when did I sign the Hebron agreement, or rather ratify it. It had already been signed. Why does this matter? Because at that moment, I actually stopped the Oslo Accords. There you go, guys. You can hear it from the mouth, the horse's mouth, real time. He's taking credit for stopping the meeting and killing the Oslo Accords, which his prior guy, Yitzhak Rabin, had worked really hard to get. They met over months in Oslo to get this agreement across the finish line. Yitzhak Rabin and Yasser Arafat did.
עכשיו, הם לא רצו לתת את המכתב הזה, אז לא נתתי את הסכם כמוהו. הפסקתי את ישיבת הממשלה, אמרתי, אני לא חותם. רק כשהגיע המכתב, תוך כדי הישיבה, אליי ואל ערפאת, חתמתי על הסכם. והשררתי, היה חתום. למה זה חשוב? כי באותו הרגע עצרתי בעצם את ההסכם.
ולמרות זאת, אדם משלנו, סליחה, שידע שזו תרמית ושאנחנו יכולים להתאבד עם הסכם אוסלו, נותן באמת לדוגמה את חברון. את זה אף פעם לא הבנו.
את חברון זה קורה. זה קורה, זה הדבר שקורה. אחד מהרבנים המפורסמים שאני מאוד מכבד אותו, רב של ארץ ישראל, אמר לי, מה היה אבא שלך אומר? הלכתי לאבא שלי. אתם יודעים קצת על העמדות של אבא שלי?
So there you guys go. You have it right there. So going back to what I was saying. So the UK knows that recognizing Palestine is like the kryptonite for Israel. Because as you guys can see here, me showing you proof, Benjamin Netanyahu has been sabotaging a two-state solution for decades. So the Brits know that one of the ways to really get under the Israeli skin is to recognize Palestine, especially with Netanyahu. His ego won't allow it. Shout out to Kinetic Edge with the gifted sub. But again, I want to make it very clear to all of you guys that are watching. Keir Starmer is not doing this because he's a humanitarian. He's doing this because he doesn't like the fact the United Kingdom is an ally to Israel as they conduct a genocide. So make no mistake about it. If Israel rolls back its military campaign, the United Kingdom will fold and not recognize Palestine. I think the French are probably going to go through with it all the way. I think Macron is going to go through all the way and recognize Palestine. Because the French have always kind of been anti-war, right? Ever since they took that L in World War II, they kind of learned that, like, we can't lose again. So I do give Macron credit for that. Bro can't stand up to his wife, but he could definitely stand up to the Israelis. So I'll give him credit there. Bro gets smacked by his wife, but he could definitely stand up to Netanyahu. So I'll give him credit there, man. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, chat.